won 2 NBA championships with the Houston Rockets and of course now part of the Emmy award-winning Inside the NBA on TNT. Kenny Smith, how you doing? Welcome to London.
Doing great, man. Enjoying London. This is one of my favorite cities in the world.
I've seen a few pictures on Twitter. What have you been up to so far?
I've been Euro-stepping.
Where'd that come from?
Well, you know, my son actually said, you know, because I've been going a lot this summer over to Europe, and he's like, oh, you Euro-stepping, and then I just stole it from him.
I have to ask you a few questions about the show, of course. Ernie Johnson, does he meditate before recording that?
No, I do. I have to, because dealing with Charles and dealing with Shaq will definitely make you meditate. But no, it's a lot of fun. This is the most fun show, I think, in television, and I have the most fun doing it.
If you put Shaq and Charles in the octagon, who wins?
Oh, today, Shaq wins easily. Back in the 90s, it would be close. I still would go with Shaq, but it would be closer. But now it would be humiliation.
What don't we see that you might like us to see when you're off air?
I think the one thing about our show, what makes it unique, it's just a continuation of what we say off the air. Now, the language is a little calmer, but I probably would like people to hear when we talk about other things other than basketball. Politics, social events, current events, everything. Kanye West, Martha Stewart. We'll talk about anything that's relevant if it's part of the sports culture.
What have you heard on set where you've just gone, I can't agree with that?
Every day. Every day. From political views that Charles has, from sporting opinions that Shaq has, every day. But that's what is unique. You know, we're allowed to be ourselves. We don't have to stick to a script. We just basically say what we like to say.
Bill Russell was your first coach in the NBA, right? What's the one thing you remember learning from him, teaching moment?
It wasn't really a basketball as much as life. This is when there was only about 3 or 4 NBA players that were international. And I was like, man, you're telling me there's not another good player in Alabama or Brooklyn that you can find? And I was just joking around, and he looked at me and he said, Kenny, as an African American, you should never argue about inclusion. So it was more of a political statement to me about inclusion, about bringing people in and never complaining about inclusion, especially as someone of our race. So that was poignant to me, and it sticks to me today.
So what are you and Bill happiest about now then, where the NBA is today?
The inclusion of it's a global game. It's not local. You know, I could come down, I walk the streets of London and people are like, hey, Kenny, the world is smaller now. And that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it great, because the game should be inclusive and it should be easy for everyone to play. And it's one of the few games that the players and everyone is easily identifiable, because it's only 12 and only 5 on the court at one time. So you get to see and hear, and the action is so action-packed that you get to see it. So that's one thing I'm most proud of.
And your former teammate Hakeem Olajuwon, did he really get better during Ramadan?
Yes, and that's what everyone talks about, energy and effort, but it's more focus. Basketball, a lot is played from the neck up, and his focus just increased dramatically once Ramadan came, because which was amazing because everyone thought it wouldn't.
What's your favorite piece of memorabilia?
Championship nets, because and there's a picture over here of me cutting down a championship net, because in the NBA no one does that. I'm the only one in the history of sport in the NBA that went back out and cut the nets. In college, it's a tradition, but no one does it in the NBA. So I was like, I'm running out and I'm cutting the nets.
Where did you get the ladder from? Did anyone question you going up there?
No, I told the custodian guys, I said, I'm going out to cut the net. They came out with the ladder, we put it up, and because the ladders are always around anyway, but we came and pulled it and cut the nets, and I put them on my neck, and I'm the only one to have it.
Kenny, last question. I really want your opinion on this one. Who's the most underrated basketball player, do you think, of all time?
Underrated. I would say I don't think they're underrated, but in the top 50 players, John Stockton probably doesn't get the credit that he deserves of being a great player. Because when you start naming point guards of all time, his name is starting to slip down the list just because he's not as so outspoken. But I would say he was probably most underrated.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.